Welcome to the Bear River Massacre Site, Ecological Restoration, taking land back to 1863. Right now, I'd like to introduce our speakers. We have Brad Parry. Brad's the Vice Chairman, Natural Resource Officer of the Northwestern Band of Shoshone Nation. And Brian Andrew is our Principal Irrigation Engineer and Project Manager with Hansen, Allen, and Luce Engineers. So with that, I'm going to give this over to these gentlemen. They'll have 40 minutes, and we're separating about 5 minutes or so for question and answer. Excellent. Take it away. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Good to be here, everybody. Thank you for coming out and listening to our little show. Hopefully we can enlighten and just kind of show what the Northwestern Band of Shoshone Nation really thinks about ecological restoration. So glad that Brian's here with me. I run the project management for this whole thing, and Brian's project manager 1A. So hopefully we have some good things. So yeah, Wuda, Ogwa. Wuda is Bear, Ogwa is river. A lot of times, a lot of people will see this as Boa Ogoi. That doesn't have a literal translation. It's more rejuvenation, spiritual. And so, you know, when we're doing presentations and, you know, applying for grants, you know, the tribal elders are like, that's not really the term. It's more of a spiritual term. So we just said, well, we'll just go with the actual name. So, so just a little bit about Shoshone culture. The way you pronounce Shoshone is Sosagoi. It's the people who walk by foot. You know, we still do this. We live in extended tribal groups. There's several Shoshone bands, and you know, we're one of them that really kind of focuses on the family. And so, you know, we're travelers. We're hunter-gatherers. Currently, if this was back in the 1860s or before, we would traditionally be in western Utah and eastern Nevada, you know, around Box Elder County, gathering pine nuts, getting ready to go up to the Snake River to fish for salmon and hunt for sogodia or deer, and make our way to the Wuda Ogwa site to camp for the winter. Couple of Indians there. Restore natural resources. The goal of our project is really to take it back in time. You know, we left there in 1863. We'll talk about why we left there in a minute. But really, it's, you know, we know that we have to use modern techniques and technology. I put that in there a lot because I get a lot of questions. It's like, well, from professors and biologists, it's like, well, it's not really all natural because you're using a diversion structure and laterals and, you know, all of these sorts of gadgets and things. And I said, yeah. And well, how can you call it now? I said, listen, when we saw the horse, we rode it. When we found the gun, we shot it. Now we have computers, we'll use it. So, just to, you know, part of running a project like this is you have to have technical advisors. The tribe cannot perform all of those things on its own. So Hansen, Allen, Luce, represented by Brian here today. BioWest Engineers, All Red Restoration, and Chronicle Heritage are our main groups. We work with other partners, but these are the guys that are helping us make decisions. And you need to have that. You have to have that technical expertise. I worked for the Department of Interior for almost 20 years in a water quality program, and so I kind of understand a little bit of what they tell me. This is the site. This is the Bear River Massacre Site. The camp would have been right through here, right through here. Battle Creek, which we're going to talk about, used to run out through here. It used to be called Beaver Creek. Would run out here and it would meet the Bear River. The Bear River used to come at that time up about there. And so we're putting back these meanders, and we'll talk about that. But this is the site right now. We need to update it. These Russian olives are all gone. But that's a good way to look at that. So, yeah, so the reason that we do this, why this is important to us, is this is the site of the Bear River Massacre, the largest mass killing of Native Americans in the history of our United States. The counts range from 368 all the way up to 500 plus, depending on which journal you're looking at and you're talking to. It was devastating. You can kind of see the map. You know, this map was drawn by J.H. Martineau a few days after, 3 days after the site. and we were forced off our wintering grounds. So what's important about this site is this is where we used to camp for winter and stay. Other Shoshone bands would come in and be with us, and they would perform what's called the warm dance. The warm dance just wasn't a one-time dance. It was a whole thing. I mean, a modern term today would be like powwow or rendezvous or something like that to have people there. But so this place, that we're looking at, the soldiers encroaching and people running free and those sorts of things, was an extremely happy place. I mean, this is what you lived for all year. I call it the time for gambling, gossips, and games, because that's what we had. A lot of horse races, a lot of foot races. We played shinny, which is like hockey. And just really, that's where you caught up on gossip. That's where you met your spouse a lot of times. So you weren't marrying straight into the tribe. But so we just have fond memories there. In 2018, we purchased this back. That what I showed you in the previous slide. We bought this back in 2018 with funding that we earned from businesses and different things that we had. So this wasn't given to us. We went back and bought it. Here's another map. This is the beach map. This was drawn. Sergeant Beach got wounded and came and sat up on a hill right here and started to sketch this out. I can't fault him for scale because he was shot, so he's laying over, kind of doing what he could. But this is surfaced, and you can kind of see, where he had the villages, willows and Willow Island and those sorts of things. So we're getting a picture of what it looked like back then. A lot of historical writers talk about how high the willows were. They're about 15, 16 feet high, and the way willows grow, they grow together. The Army said that we had woven them together to prepare for their coming. However, the colonel also said that he snuck up there in secret and surprised us. So, pick a lane. They also said we cut in these side steps to go up the hill. Just to tell you how cold it was, the mercury was below zero, and the Army soldiers complained most about their whiskey freezing, so they couldn't drink it. So that's how cold it was.
40 below zero.
Yeah. So we're up there with an axe trying to prepare for that. I don't think so. This is a new map that we're starting to develop. Jason Bruff, a tribal member of ours, is currently a PhD student at the University of Maine doing anthropology. And he put together this map, and it's in Shoshone. And we've taken a lot of our information from oral history about what happened here. This is where the warm dance would have been. This is horses. Basavi is cottonwood trees. And then you can kind of see through here. Toquashes is soldiers. And then you can see certain people that got away. My great-great-great-grandfather was Chief Segwich, and this is probably about the point of the river where he had a couple of horses shot out from underneath him and got himself shot in the hand. Wirasap is Chief Bear Hunter. You may have heard of that if you've heard of this sort of thing. Now, Chief Bear Hunter, Wirasap Ghani is his home. He was killed right by his home. He actually sat down in front of a tree so his wife and his children could get away. The reason we have the story of how he was killed is because his wife was hiding in the willows and watching him be tortured. But he sat there and took it so those folks could get away. And so there's several other people that had, Anse Chi is an interesting story. She was a mother. Her husband was killed, and she ran for the Bear River and the thing. So up there, around there, there are hot springs, and so the people knew where some of these hot pots were and could go and hide underneath. Anzichi, when she was there, jumped into the river, floated underneath the banks, and found other women there. She was carrying her baby. Her baby cried. They heard soldiers. She dropped the baby. That's why this is important to us here, and that's why we need to do a restoration. It's been completely changed. In 1875, they started to move in here and develop this area so it wouldn't look like this, but we're trying to recreate this. And these are things that the tribe has put together through oral history that we're going to publish. So here's an aerial side of the place here. You just kind of see, that's what we were looking at. You can see the bends in the river. And so our ecological restoration is all through here. This is in Preston, Idaho, by the way. Sorry, So if you know anything about Napoleon Dynamite and where it was filmed, we're close. We're close. You can see both in a day.
Yeah, you can go to both.
Yeah,
The high school and the house.
yeah. It's a good tour. So in doing a recreation or taking the land back in time as our project is we got to figure out what was there. We got to see what was there. And we try to do that a lot through photo analysis. We've searched up and down and found photos of certain things. A lot of times they don't have dates. They just Battle Creek or whatever. Here's the earliest photo that we've been able to find of the site. So here's Battle Creek, and you can see how large it is. There's brush, there's certain things. There's the bridge that's going over, and you can see, kind of their old-timey clothes. This is right at the mouth of Battle Creek where it would come out and meander its way to the Bear River. So that's in the 1880s. In 1949, a shot that's similar, you can see from the last picture how small Battle Creek has gone. You can still see some shrubbery and some different things, but this is looking, the hill's been, there were landslides and certain things, but you can see that the area is just not like it was when this was about approximately where that bridge was. Another thing that I talked about was hot springs. We were there. This is a photo we came upon in a book. We had no idea this thing existed on our hot springs. The settlers built resort.
It's a resort.
The resort.
Come bathe in the miracle mineral waters of this hot spring.
Yeah, so they advertised it the same way for the same reason we were there. However, these folks were from Tennessee, so that you could get moonshine whiskey. There were beer tents. Over here there was gambling, and up here there were hostesses. So the great creator thought, well, I don't want that here on this sacred spot. So in 1911, flood came through, washed the whole thing out to the point where there are just minute traces of the thing.
The next slide will show you what it looks like now.
This is looking northeast. The other one was looking southwest. And you can see this is where that structure would have been. But you can see what's happened. Russian olive, banks are just eroding back and forth. Here's our hot springs, something that would have been, all over the site. They put in dams and lakes and changed the course of the water, put in canals. All that lowers the temperature of the water. So a lot of people are like, man, you guys camped off a long way from the hot springs. Well, no, that's just where it's ended up. I was dumb enough to go down there and measure that hot springs one day, holding on to a guy. It was 190 degrees, and when I saw that, I said, don't drop me. Just don't drop me. And so when there's a lot of people that come like, hey, can we go down the hot springs? I'm like, I don't advise it. So getting back to kind of our grounds, these are banks that our people hid in the snow during the Bear River Massacre. And so you can see this guy's name is William Nelson Sr. He was the first person from Franklin ordered by the bishop to go down and help our people the day after the massacre. In 1917, he did an interview with the Deseret News, and as an eyewitness, we got a lot of information from there. We know exactly where this is. This is right where Battle Creek comes out, and then it's channelized over here. But this still is dug out like this, and so you can see how tall the willows were and some of those things. And from diaries, we know that the winds planted apple and peach trees in the area, and so. And it's covered in snow, so that's another bad thing that you can't really see. But this is that spot today. We've been doing a lot of ecological restoration. I don't take exact correct photos because a lot of times I don't want people knowing exactly where it is, so if they go there, it can still be respected. Here's the other side looking here. Here's the banks that he was standing in. And you can see some of the stuff we've been doing to get ready. So again, this is extremely important to us. People ask, well, how do you guys know? How do you know this? How did you plan the river system? How did you navigate this? Well, meet Frank Timbimbu Warner. His Indian name was Bishop or Red Clay. He was on his mother's. He was in the teepee with his mother on his mother's back in a kono or a cradle board, and they stayed in those for a few years. But his mother was shot through the chest The bullet went through the back of the cradle board and embedded into his back, and he had that scar for the rest of his life. He also was there and saw and had other people take him back to the exact spot where his mother was killed. His mother was killed inside of the teepee. So this was Chief Segwich. He's a great-great uncle of mine. But Chief Segwich was his father, which is my great-great-great-grandfather. So we went there, we looked around, we found alfalfa, and we started to set up to see exactly where this was. We got pretty close. We'll see if this works.
This is a video showing kind of the process, how we identified it.
Oh, how do we get that to roll? Oh, enable content. Judas, maybe we shouldn't be using modern technology to make a natural space. This is the coolest slide we have.
Yeah. Maybe we can get it working by the end.
Oh, there you
There
go.
it goes.
It's not working up there.
It looks great from up here.
It's fabulous.
Well, anyway, just as we're experiencing technical difficulties, through some great partnerships, that spot was able to be exactly determined. Have you heard of Zeiss lenses from Switzerland? The president of Zeiss, just recently retired, worked with an actual tribal member, another descendant of Frank, and said, you would have been standing here, this is the type of lens, got the information on it, and from that technology was able to locate exactly within 10 feet where that photo was taken.
Yeah, we were looking at it the wrong way, and a guy in Germany told us over the phone, turn around. I was like, you can't even see what we're looking at, sir.
Yep. But we were facing the wrong direction.
Oh, is that going to do something? So that's important to us. That's where we learned that he was standing in front of the creek, so we know that Chief Segwich and Chief Bear Hunter were camped on the north side, on the east side of the river. Those trees in the background were there. We went out and found a row of stumps. So we were able to pretty conclusively decide that's where it was. As we could see the river in the background, we know where to put things. This is Battle Creek meeting the Bear River. Photo was unknown. It was just a newspaper clipping that underneath it said, you know, where Battle Creek meets Bear. So you can see the shrubbery and just the different things before, you know, agriculture, before we started channelizing, before they started building certain things. Here's the same mouth, but just a different direction. Photos again unknown, but from a newspaper, we've tried to call and ask what's going on. But you can see Battle Creek meeting the bear right through here. And we know it's early because there's still, these sorts of things that are there. As opposed to 1930, when right through here is where that bend would be, right through there. And so you can see non-native trees. A lot of this is dug out. You can still see Battle Creek a little bit. This is what's called the Win Home. Just as point of reference, this is where the first 14 soldiers were cut down in a volley. And so that's all the eyewitnesses put it there. And so when we established that, they're on dry ground and that sort of thing. Looking at the soldiers' path in 1930, the soldiers meandered there. But look at the land. This used to be wetlands and willows, the different things. It's just all dried out. The creek's going back down, and you can just kind of see the change starting to happen. We got a barn. We got certain things going on. Looking from the same area up to there, Soldier Fort again, down through here, complete field, completely just flattened, silt brought in, dirt brought in, completely started to cover everything up to get rid of those.
That wetland meander that would have been there.
This is again on Battle Creek. You can kind of see some of the things there in 1930. This is a route that the people were taking to go up north to escape, but the Army figured that out and set people here and here and just shot bullets into the ravine there, so we had to come back out. But just this thing of what it looked like in 1930. Same kind of photo, but from 1949. This is a little further north, looking up the creek. And then looking down south, this is what it looks like in 1960. So, from the 30s to the 40s to the 60s, completely changed. This was a feeding area, a feedlot kind of. Cattle would come down and drink, and you can see the size of Battle Creek. It's just not big. This is the site today. In that area, you can see we're trying to remove Russian olives. We're trying to get willows and thickets and certain things back through there. So that's part of our restoration. To kind of help us with a little bit more, hopefully this one works too.
The earth needs to heal. Healing can't take place when you don't heal everything. And healing the environment, healing Mother Earth, healing that place where so many bodies still lie today is as important as anything we do at the site.
Something horrible happened here. But for thousands of years, nothing horrible happened here. And so for us to be able to reclaim our spirit and the spirits of those that are trapped here, and to move forward and work with other cultures. That's why we're here, is because we need to honor this place for those people that had to fight and then had to lay down their lives and sometimes sacrifice their lives for others on that day.
That's ground zero for the tribe. That's our cemetery. That's our 19th cemetery to us. A lot of people died there. It was a massacre that shouldn't have happened. It was, but it did, and we have to remember it.
That's why this project is so important, because we're not dead. You see descendants here. That's why we need to rebuild this.
Mother Earth is weeping by the way we treated her all these years. The land is just as important as the people.
History is starting to repeat itself, and the native people are sitting there watching going, yeah, we've seen this. You'll have progress if you keep things natural. Getting rid of invasive species that weren't supposed to be here. Trying to remove those things and just bring back, well, what would naturally grow here? You need clean water, you need water. We have a certain amount of water rights. Our goal is to spread it out over the land and send it downriver to the Great Salt Lake so we can help everybody. That's something we can personally do.
It was a really good project. The vision was sound. It was going to restore and help the Bear River, which is a main focal point of what my job is. And then the thing was, it was so smart the breakdown of what they did by project so that they could have little bite-sized pieces so that they could get the funding that they needed so that it could go on for a number of years without trying to get just one big pot of money. That is brilliant. And I just really appreciated how well thought through it was.
I think this will be an example to the rest of the world about restoration projects that can take place when the scientific world weaves indigenous wisdom together to make something magical happen. So we need climate adaptation people, we need soil people, we need water quality people that are experts in their field, that are looking at the current situation, current temperatures, and can absolutely tell us in certain knowledge if one thing is doable or one thing is going to be a challenge.
Without water, we can't do a project. Plants don't grow, rivers don't run, and so the first project was a water rights study, and what do we have to work with, and how can we leverage that to do more? Then it was an analysis. Let's wrap our heads together with our team as what can we do? So the steps that came out of that were, one, removing of the non-native species, get the things that weren't there in the past out of there. Those are the Russian olives and things like that. And that's a major undertaking. That's the majority of that first funding application is doing that.
We don't want to go and change the area too quickly before we completely understand everything that's there. So the archaeologists are clearing areas. And so what we've done so far is we've started to replant trees and shrubs, cottonwoods, willows, and a few other species. We've started to replant those along Battle Creek.
To restore this site to what it was prior to the massacre, and which would mean bringing back the native vegetation and the natural functions of the ecosystem.
Getting things put back to natural is hard work now. It takes technology, it takes ingenuity.
That natural system is hugely important. And so taking a natural water source like a river restoration on this project, we put those curves back in. We put the meanders in, and that allows the water to clean itself. That allows the animals to have space. You know, we've learned a lot over time, and so that natural system is hugely important. This is a fantastically unique project because there is a cultural significance, there's a historical, a scientific and environmental aspect. Obviously, we're working on a battlefield site, but it's important because, one, to the Shoshone people, to honor their ancestors, to tell their story. Our firm's motto is, how can I help? And so everything we do is, how can we help accomplish the goals of the tribe and the elders?
Relationships are building, and I'm thankful for that. Partners bring us all together, because we're all working and learning from each other. That knowledge that they have, that we give them, that they learn to see us as human beings and not, just as Indians. Boogie Bionica, Boogie Bionica, Boogie Bionica, and
By being able to do our small part on this small parcel of land in the scheme of the world, I think will speak volumes.
And that's really what is binding us together is our connection to that land and to place. We more belong to it than we do own it. We want the earth to rebuild itself, but we need to give it a push in the right way, and so we're doing that right now.
So that's just kind of a brief overview of what we're looking to do. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of this thing right now. One of the main reasons we're doing this is for the Tichibagani, and Rios will correct me if I got the name of Salt Lake wrong, but the home of bad water. And so you have those sorts of things. We've always referred to it that way. So we've always known and have respected the Great Salt Lake. You know, we gathered salt there. There was mallard ducks. I grew up in Syracuse, Utah. I went out and hunted those same marshes my ancestors did for ducks. We've been to Antelope Island. We knew about it. We camped in the Spiral Jetty. I mean, it was just a place for us that we knew. And so now looking at it, you know, being able to have seen, I remember 82 and 83 with the floods and how big that thing got. And so we just want to get that back there. So that's one of the main reasons we're doing this. This is a little bit more technical of what we're doing. Brian, you explain what's going on here.
So this is just a very conservative estimate here, and we explain our methodology of what we're doing and how much water we can actually send actually down into the Bear River and into the Great Salt Lake. So, and actually our estimates are, like I said, around 13,000 acre feet, but that is a very, very, very small conservative estimate.
Yeah.
And right here, we're going to talk about, we just went through that plan. You know, we tried to identify, Brad invited me, and we had known each other previously when he was working for the Department of the Interior, and called me and said, hey, I've got this little project maybe you could help with. And we stood there in that field, it was about this time of year, and I invited an associate with BioWest to come and sit with us, and we sat and said, what can we do? What should we do? And then we developed this plan, you know, in consultation with the tribal council and the tribal elders. So we could eat the elephant, you know, bit by bit instead of one big bite. For those of you who don't know, who here deals with engineers? Go ahead, it's not a bad thing, right? I can say this, I am an engineer. We tend to be, how do I say this politely, we think we know everything. Is that good enough?
Yes, yes.
That's a pretty good example, right? I fall into that. But then I work with a tremendous group of people in what I think is a very prestigious firm. And then I'm surrounded by people who are brilliant. But then I had children, right? And I have a daughter who's just going into the teenage years, so I'm an idiot. As a matter of fact, one of my sons thought I drove a train. So maybe I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. He said, I thought you drove a train, Dad. So here's what that first part is. We had to identify, well, what do we have to work with? What's out there? And from that, this is our vegetation community mapping. What species are there? What needs to be there? What needs to go? And then how do we incorporate the native species that can flourish in today's climate, but also were historically used. And the next two slides are a couple vegetation, what they're used for health, for shelter, for food, to the Shoshone.
Yeah, we want to bring these back so we can continue our culture, our stories as we're still here. And these sorts of things help the ecosystem. Suhivi, willow, it's one of our most sacred plants. It's called the woman's plant sometimes because it gives life. It gives us everything that we need. Cattail CP, you can see that you can make it into a flower. You can chew on the cordage. I mean, it's the coolest thing about that is we haven't done this yet, but pound it down and make a marshmallow. So that's next. But you can see these are things we really want back there.
First step, we had to get rid of that nasty weed called the Russian olive, right? So here's an example of, and in the next coming slides, where we've got to get rid of them before we can put what we want there.
We haven't tackled that yet.
Yep, that one is still to do. There's 400,000 Russian olives in that peninsula.
Yep. So we've contracted with the Utah Conservation Corps, the UCC, that's run out of Utah State. They're probably the best in the world at this. They do everything by hand. So there's no invasive equipment that comes in, and they're around here today. But we have more than a partnership with them. We have a friendship. They respect the land, and they respect what we're trying to do.
They're heroes. They're awesome.
They are heroes.
And we thank them for being here, but we appreciate that collaboration. Now, we get the things out. What do we put back in? We just recently planted 8,500 trees in a few in the maps we're going to show you. Brad and I didn't do that. But we had over 400 volunteers come to these locations, plant those trees in about 4 hours. So we have tremendous partnerships and people that just want to help.
We have 290,000 to go, so if you missed our one planting day, there'll be a few.
There'll be more.
There'll be
We'll
a
invite
few
you
more.
out.
And just,
Here's some of the people out there that day.
you know, had a lot of volunteers from a lot of different places.
Now, this is our overall vegetation plan now of what we want to put in. And we've got 3 main groups. Some areas that just need enhanced, just need a little help. Some we need to revegetate, and then some needs a lot of work, and we've got to kill what's there and replant what should be there. Now, we also have, talking about our water rights, how can we supplement it? We do have some irrigation rights, and so we are estimating we're losing about 65% of our water before it even gets to the ground. So we are piping some earthen laterals and getting it, and instead of farming it, we're growing the natural landscape and enhancing the river flow. This is what it looks like now. And like Brad said, we're using modern technology. Battle Creek itself was lowered. Another canal was built and it was lowered. And in the process of the Bear River itself, getting some incised channels, and it lowered the slope. And we're just picking up all this sediment now. And so this is what it looks like now. We're going to put in some culverts, build a small structure that raises that water level up so that we can put it back across the places where it used to run. This is our overall plan. You can see just along the highway there, this is Highway 91, about 8 miles north of Preston. Battle Creek was channelized and runs like a ditch right down the edge of the highway. So these 2 lines in the middle are that multi-channel, meandering stream that will now support cottonwoods and willows and some wetland habitat and wetland ponds. And go from that Brown Creek to the next slide. Bonneville cutthroat trout habitat, which historically was there. We wanted to go from that to this.
That's a big goal. But, recreating these things is important to us because that's what used to be there.
Now, we also have those steep slopes, so we do need modern technology. We need equipment to lessen those slopes, solve the bank stabilization and the sloughing and the erosion problems, and then make it habitable for the sedges and the cattails and the things like that.
We're also planting a lot of milkweed to bring back the monarch butterfly.
And then it's also one area is going to be devoted to an area for migratory birds. And so we have some open water sections. Through our studies, we found some just natural groundwater, which we will allow to enhance and then have that open water for the butterflies and the birds. And beavers. You know, the locals don't like them, but we do. And so we have BDAs.
Water quality structures.
But we do not call them BDAs. When some groups, they are called water quality structures. They serve the same purpose for a different crowd.
And thank you to Sageland Collaborative, who is also here today, that will be helping us install BDAs and helping us reintroduce the beaver in the area. This used to be called Beaver Creek, so we ought to think that they should come back.
And this is on site. The beaver are there. They just need a little encouragement. Now, this area is, we're also doing, there's no studies, there's no data on the stream itself. And so we've installed 4 water quality and water, so we know what the water's like. This was how our first year of installation was this year. And as you know, it kind of snowed a little bit. And so, putting in and gathering data when the whole valley's underwater.
Yeah, there's a pretty big spike.
Yeah, this stream right here, actually, we have 2 access bridges, washed them out. So, you move, take a step ahead, and then you gather together and you adapt.
This is our overall goal. This is the site as it is kind of right now, sands, Russian olives in that area, but what we hope that we could make it into, in the future. This is really our goal. We think, it's climate resilient, it's, drought resilient, climate adaptive, the water filtered and clean, and most of all, we can use it in such a way that will enhance the Great Salt Lake.
We're happy to report all those Russian olives in the top photo are gone. We just have that little bit of work left to do.
Yeah, and we're lucky that we're able to do this. I mean, we were farmers, we didn't, do those sorts of things. So when we look at the land, people up there think I'm crazy, for trying to do this. Why would you do that with your water? I'm like, well, what else are we gonna do? So we put that through there.
And not only are we doing it for this land, we're doing the community, the Northwestern band is reaching out to the community, not only telling their own story, but theirs, but also it benefits all of society. So we're cleaning up the whole watershed.
Oh, good. Questions?
So, sorry we went over a little bit, but they wanted us to do that to not make the lunch rush too bad. So what questions?
Paraphrase them so they're
Yes.
recording.
Yes. All right, who's got a question? Awesome.
Yeah, we expect to have a major microclimate reestablished here.
Yes. So our future plan, so our future plan and follow-up with the invasives is we go and spray every few months. We follow we're contracted under the United States Department of Agriculture, NRCS, to remove these. They have a specific plan of how to do those things, and so they don't come back. We remove them, they're immediately painted with herbicide, and then we go back in and repaint them and repaint them and repaint them. We've started to plant trees, and that's where we planted 10,000 trees, is where we've taken out all olives, because that.
So they can't come back.
Yeah, we haven't seen much regrowth in the last 3 years.
We're in year 3. We haven't had a lot of regrowth, but we do have a 10-year and 20-year monitoring
Yes.
contribution when we were state and monitor it.
Yep.
We've partnered with Utah State actually to have classes out there, and they were aid in that monitoring and field visits.
That's a great question, thank you. Yeah,
We can use them all. They were established irrigation rights that came with the property purchase, and then some canal shares of 2 different canal companies. So they were already established. Right now, the state of Idaho is doing adjudication on the Bear River, and we're part of that.
yeah, so just so people heard the question is, how are we able to use our water right? George?
How much water are we looking to deliver to Great Salt Lake?
13,000 acre feet by our new, you saw our new shiny tools out there. It was estimated first at 11,000 acre feet. We've got a year of data. Now we're thinking 13,000 acre feet.
And it's cleaner than it was before.
Way cleaner. Okay, so yeah, the question is, the project, how can it serve for future models? Well, if you have, we go around and we try to talk to everybody we can. If you have, ag land that you can turn into that. I know that a lot of farmers can't fallow. They can't, do certain things because of the things that they grow, and we get that. But what we want to show people is that there are various stages. Everybody can remove Russian olive. Everybody can plant native species. Everybody can do those sorts of things. And we want to get that into the community of, hey, develop your water system. I went from looking at, the different types of pipes and different things that we could use to make sure, like Brian said, losing 65% of our water. So we try to encourage people like, hey, we lost this, you guys have earth and canal, apply for these sorts of things. That's one of the other things we do, is we try to tell people there is funding out there to do those sorts of things. So but those are things everybody could do.
And to also come and see what we've done and see how it can work with you. The tribe is more and open and is partnering with people. They do numerous tours, and they're very collaborative. And so restoration projects are different because they're very site-specific, where you're at. But there's a lot of resources. If you have an inkling, you want to start something, you start there, and then you roll.
Yes.
Is there a timeline, even a rough one, for project completion?
So for what we're doing right now with the diversion structure, meanders, plantings, and those sorts of things, 2026 is when our grants run out. When I talked to Brian, we had $25,000 in the bank to start this project. Now we have over $4 million, almost $5 million to do the project, all through grants and donations and things like that. The long-term plan is, 15 to 20 years is really when we think that it will naturally take over, where we're not, pushing things.
That's where we'll have the stream reestablished and our replanting all done. But, that's a 10 to 20 year horizon to monitor. You have setbacks, you have winter kills, you're revegetating. Mother Nature, everyone wants to think it's gentle. She's not. And so you have to adjust.
Yeah. The question is we have a proposed cultural interpretive center that would go there. It would be on the very west side, up a hill. It's about 200 feet.
Up on the bluff, and it overlooks everything.
Yeah, so this does, I mean, the way the grants work, we can't weave them together. And so strictly for the building, it's strictly donations. Call your local billionaire, tell them to donate to us, and we'll do both at the same time.
The building is totally designed. It's ready to go, so it's construction ready, as the popular term is. But it'd be separate, but it overlooks our full restoration site. There's the cultural center. It has a stone amphitheater. It actually has a hot well to keep that stone amphitheater clear year-round from the snow. It's a teaching place. You look directly at the hot springs, and then the battlefield site and this restoration channel. So it can be a huge benefit to it, but it's separate right now.
Yeah, we don't want people sitting there looking at Russian olive trees. Oh yeah, we do have a clean water well.
I had a major anxiety attack. Mental health is great. I'm seriously, I was freaking out. We had, 2 days left on a grant. We were looking for a drinking water source for the building, and our current, that's where we have a hot well now, wasn't suitable. We had another site, just, people couldn't come. It was when your heart gets shaken and you can't sleep at night, those kind of things. And then we had a small miracle. We found a pristine artesian location. It's near drinking water quality. It flows 500 gallons a minute naturally, solves all our problems, and we'll use that too to supplement cold water into the system and facilitate that not only as drinking water source, but to keep the river clean.
Yep. Yeah.
Were the downstream water right users supportive of the project, and how were they involved?
So the downstream water users, some of them are supportive. It doesn't really affect them because we're the last user on the system that empties into the Bear River. So quite honestly, when we talk to the Duck Club that's there in Box Elder County, they're ecstatic because we're sending more water down through there. So the downstream users should really look at us and be like, oh, that's great, support us.
And we have some of the highest priority rights on the Bear. When they purchased land, they acquired those, and so we actually, sorry, I'm using the royal we there, I shouldn't. The Northwestern Band of the Shoshone actually has a lot of calls on that stream to say we're not getting our water because they have the highest priority use.
Yep. So yeah, the question was, downstream users, how we're working with them. They're pretty happy with us.
The state of Utah has been tremendously supportive, not only in donations, but time and programs. And so, as far as the ultimate downstream user being the Great Salt Lake, all the agencies want to help, want to collaborate.
Yeah, this is only 7 miles north of the border.
Matter of fact, that's been a problem. The state of Idaho really doesn't want to contribute because all the benefits go to Utah.
That's an exact quote from their DNR. Sorry, yes? Yeah, who was the landowner before you purchased it? Oh, so the landowner before we purchased is a guy by the name of the Johnson Ranch?
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson.
It's a family ranch. He was actually a fairly prominent attorney, but it's his family's place.
We're rebuilding our website right now to try and keep people informed, to come and plant trees and different things like that, because we're going to be doing yearly things. And so look at our website, look at some of the other things, and we'll try to announce it.
Not today. Don't look at it today.
We have a table upstairs. There's stickers, there's handouts, there's more information there, but there is also this website. And then Brad and I's contact. Feel free to reach out to us, and we'll get you to the right spot.
Yep.
Let's go have lunch then.